Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Our topic today is autoimmune diseases, autoimmune disease awareness. Autoimmune diseases can be rather mysterious to the patients and the medical community. My guest is Dawn Green, an autoimmune disease awareness advocate and author of the book Facing My Giants: Overcoming Obstacles for Optimal Health. Dawn, great to see you. Thank you so much for being with us and for your outstanding work over all these years.
Lori, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Well, I say all these years because you suffered with an autoimmune disease for 35 long years before it was diagnosed. And honestly, this is not that unusual because, as I said, autoimmune diseases are a little bit tricky, a little bit elusive to everyone. And so now you've dedicated the rest of your life to helping people identify autoimmune disease, and that includes doctors. So before we get too deep into your story, which is fascinating and inspirational, talk about what an autoimmune disease is. A lot of people don't even know what an autoimmune disease is unless they have it or know someone with one.
That's actually true. Autoimmune disease is when the body, which is supposed to protect us through toxins and from bacteria, viruses, and things of that nature, our bodies are designed by God to protect us from that. But what happens with autoimmune is that the body turns on itself and begins to attack healthy tissues and organs, causing devastating damage. And that's exactly what happened to me. And that's what's happening to many others, especially if it takes a long time for you to get a diagnosis.
So can you name some autoimmune diseases?
Yes, I can. There's rheumatoid arthritis. A lot of people are very familiar with that one. We also have lupus. We also have type 1 diabetes. And we also have many others, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I mean, the list goes on and on. There are over 100 autoimmune diseases that are out there today. And many people who are suffering from it are not even aware of them. And that's why I want to speak out to get people to know. I have to bring awareness to the people to let them know these diseases are very serious and we need to pay attention to them.
It's so true. A lot of people don't realize, they feel awful. They don't realize that they have an autoimmune disease, and they don't realize that they're not supposed to feel that way. People, for example, with thyroid issues, they're tired
Yes.
all the time, and they
Mhm.
think, well, this is just life. I'm just, everybody's always tired. And no, that's not true.
That's
Can you
right.
talk about your situation? You have an incredible story. You suffered for 35 long years before you were diagnosed. Tell us a little bit about what you went through.
Ari, it was horrendous. I am sitting here with you today, but by the grace of God. And as they say in Hebrew, Baruch Hashem, it is because of him that I am alive. I suffered for many years, and it was long before 35 years, but it took the medical establishment 35 years to give me a viable diagnosis. And my life was horrible. I suffered, I was sick, fatigue, rashes, missed menstrual periods, couldn't eat, digestive issues. I suffered the gamut, crying all the time, didn't know what was wrong with me, going to see my doctor day in and day out. I had a plethora of doctors. I had over 15 doctors seeing me, and not one of them were able to tell me that it was an autoimmune disease until 9.5 years ago. That's how long it's been. And I just was so devastated. I told my family and I told others that I've spoken with that once I find out, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping others. I was so devastated trying to go to work. I had to leave my job. I had a wonderful teaching career and I had to leave my job. That broke me because I could not bear what I was going through and continue to go to work every day and teach my wonderful students.
You were a librarian, right? A
Yes,
modern
I
day
am.
librarian. They don't call them
Yes.
librarians anymore, right? You're like
They,
a
they,
media specialist or something,
yes,
right?
they're called library media specialists.
I'm sure that was heartbreaking. So, what was your diagnosis finally?
Finally, the first one, let me start with that, Lori. The first diagnosis that I ever received 9 years ago was Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And I went to share it with people. No one has ever heard the name Hashimoto's. People were saying, Hashi, who? What are you talking about? I was like, no, I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I'm telling you this, I have to say this as a side note. On that day that I received that diagnosis, I threw a party. And the reason why I threw that party, because I was so happy that I finally got a diagnosis as to what was ailing me. I skipped out of that doctor's office. You would have thought I was crazy. No, I wasn't crazy. I was elated because they thought I was crazy. Matter of fact, every time I went to the doctor, I want to share this with your audience. Every time I went to the doctor and he did not listen to me or she did not listen to me, it just brought so much sadness that one day I couldn't take it anymore after years of pleading with them to test me, find out, please listen to me. Finally, my doctor said, you're going to a psychiatrist. And
Hmm.
I was actually sent to see a psychiatrist. And I wondered, I said, God, how did my physical health now turn into something mental? That really was mind boggling to me. So after that, I left that practice, and my husband and I hired a concierge doctor because what we wanted to do was get a team around me. I was so devastated. I couldn't just bear to just hear one person tell me who I was and what was going on with me. So we hired a team of doctors, and that team heard my story. They listened to me. They actually said, Dawn, we're going to run more tests on you because if you have Hashimoto's and it's taken the medical establishment to find out this long, we can guarantee you that you have more diseases that are in there. I said, what? Are you for real? This can't be happening. They said, yeah. So they tested me, and here's the list. It came up with autoimmune thyroid disease, which is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I had stage 5. And stage 5 autoimmune disease means that there are other diseases that are present. So after that, they went back and said, Dawn, now you have rheumatoid arthritis. What? And that was late stage. And then they said lupus. Oh my God. What? Exactly what I'm sharing with you. That's how I was in the doctor's office. And then they came back again and said, you have Raynaud's. And then they told me you have ovarian autoimmune disease. Then they told me I had liver disease. It was going on and on and on and on and on. And then they said, because of all of that, you have late stage osteoporosis, which no medicine can help you. I left there and fell right on my knees. And I asked God, please give me a plan. What should I do? And if you raise me up, I will be the voice for the rest of my life to share with the world that there is hope. You don't
Hmm.
have to take this diagnosis. It is not you, it's just a diagnosis. You are who you are, and you can thrive in this situation. And I am the face of autoimmune disease.
Two things that you said really resonate with me, and I'm sure so many of our viewers, is when you have something wrong with you and the
Yes.
doctors don't know what it is, and I've been there. When you say there's something wrong with me and they don't know what it is, they automatically suspect, especially if you're a woman and a woman of a certain age, they automatically suspect it's in your head. So don't be
Yes.
surprised if they say it's in your head and,
Mhm.
oh, you need an antidepressant. You're a single woman, middle aged. You probably are just depressed. I've heard this before too with one of my friends who, after 3 years, was finally diagnosed with late stage an autoimmune disease as
Right.
well. And so this is something that you have to be persistent
You
and
do.
When people don't know, it's that not knowing that is so awful. So I'm sure a lot of people can relate if they could just say, I wonder what's wrong with me. I wish that the doctors would help me figure out what's wrong with me. So you have to be persistent.
You
And
do.
if you yeah, and don't take that it's all in your head. Don't accept that. And
No, no.
it's really rampant out there if they don't can't diagnose you right away. All right, we're going to take
Yes.
a break and be right back with Dawn Green. The book is called Facing My Giants: Overcoming Obstacles for Optimal Health. Stay with us.
Stay connected with CBN News all day across our platforms.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. We are speaking with Dawn Green, who is an autoimmune disease awareness advocate. And you have lived through this nightmare of getting diagnosed and then living with all these autoimmune diseases. And you now have a website. So for people who have strange symptoms and the doctors don't know what it is, you can kind of point them in the right direction about how to handle this situation. Can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about your book and your website and how you help people?
Okay, well, my book, Facing My Giants, and it's taken exactly out of the biblical David, whom he had 5 stones to face that great giant Goliath. I had the same concept when I was thinking about my book because I was diagnosed with 5 autoimmune diseases. So I needed those 5 smooth stones like David to fight my giant. And thank goodness I'm winning. So one of the things about my book was I wrote this book because I wanted to share with the world my journey and my story of what it took. I wanted to bring hope to the whole entire world. A lot of people are hopeless. And when your body is hurting, when your body is behaving in ways that you cannot explain, it can continue for a kind of a loop there. And you just don't know exactly what to do. And that's where I want to help people and point them in the right direction. And I know that if they read my story, which is also on Audible, you don't have to just read the book, but you can listen to me tell the story. And it's also on ebook. So the point is I wanted to let people know you're not in this alone. See, when I was going through it, I had no one. Autoimmune disease wasn't even talked about in my circles. The doctor took me 35 years to even give me a diagnosis. So now I want to write this book so that I can get it out to people so that they can see. And a lot of people are already sending me letters, letting me know that the book is resonating with them. And that's very helpful to me because it lets me know that my pain and all that I've suffered, it truly has purpose. And that's what I want to live for. I want to live the rest of my life with purpose because at one point, I didn't know if I could live. It was that painful. Now, on my website, which I can be found at www.greenlivinginc.com. That's www.greenlivinginc.com. It's green because of my last name, and then living because I was once dying. And I now want to show people how you can live and you can thrive even when you are giving a death sentence. You can thrive. And that's what I want to share with people.
A lot of people are sort of still mystified by this idea that it's your immune system, which is designed to attack invaders, things that don't belong in our bodies, but sometimes it gets confused and attacks healthy tissue. And one time I
Yes.
interviewed a doctor about that, and he said one of the ways that happens is when we have a leaky gut lining, and sometimes
Yes.
things that are supposed to stay in our intestines leak out, and then the immune system starts attacking them and things that look like them, like the thyroid. And so one of the things that we can do is to strengthen our gut lining, which means eating right. Seems
That's
simple,
it.
but some of the things that we do can actually sort of exacerbate autoimmune diseases. So what are some other things that people can do to prevent autoimmune diseases or make them better, even reverse them in some cases?
Question. The first thing I did was I took myself back to the Garden of Eden. I went back to Genesis because therein lies my answer. I went on a 1 week fast and I wanted to get everything out of my body that was causing me disease because I didn't know what else to do. I did a 1 week fast on just water. Now, I don't recommend this for everybody. I have a saying. If you know me, you'll know my saying. My saying is a little bit English and Elizabethan, and it says, know thine self. If you're going to do anything, learn who you are first. Don't follow after what other people do. But one of the key things you can do, Lori, just like you said about the gut lining, you're absolutely correct. The first thing I did was, besides the fast, when I came off the fast, I changed my whole way of eating. And I went radical. I have to be honest with you, because desperate people do what? Desperate
Desperate
people do
measures.
desperate things.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah. I'm
do
going to
desperate
stop you right
things.
there, Dawn. I'm going
Okay,
to stop right there because we have to take a commercial break, but hold that thought.
sure.
We'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
Stay with us, everyone.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
Welcome back to Healthy Living, and we are speaking with Dawn Green, author of the book Facing My Giants: Overcoming Obstacles for Optimal Health, talking about how to deal with autoimmune diseases. And you were talking about eating right. It's amazing how having that clean diet, as they say, makes such a difference.
Oh yeah, I adopted that clean diet. I left the SAD diet alone, which is the standard American diet, and I went back to the Garden of Eden. And what I did was I went radical, because radical instances determine radical things. And what I did was I went 100% plant based, but I didn't stop there. I went plant based raw. And I'm 9 years with no cooked food, no gluten. Now, here's the key to heal your guts. You asked earlier, what can you do to prevent it or even to get better? One of the things you must do is heal your gut. There's a Princeton or Harvard study, don't quote me, that talks about every time a normal person eats gluten, the gut lining is ripped. Now, if you're healthy, it will repair itself. But if you're not healthy like myself, it takes a long time to repair itself. So I have cut out all gluten in my home. I check every product that I put on my body. My lipstick is gluten-free, vegan, plant-based. I don't put nothing on my face, my hair. I don't use shampoo. I wash my hair though, but you don't use shampoo. I'm very, very careful about everything I put on my body, because it's not just about what you eat. It's also about what you put on your skin. So that's very, very key. So I'm a fruit, vegetable, nuts, and seeds girl, and that's all I eat, and I enjoy it immensely. I am so happy. I also wanted to say that for me, in my case, because I have 5 autoimmune diseases, the gut lining has taken a long time to heal. Just before this interview, I was on a 2-week juice only fast. And what I was doing with that, I was giving my gut a chance to just stop digestion and heal. I call it getting on God's operating table. I needed
And
to remove myself and let myself heal. And I did that for 2 weeks. I just came off on Monday.
And I've heard a wonderful way to really strengthen that gut lining is bone broth. What are your thoughts on bone broth?
I'm all for it. I just don't do it because I'm plant-based now. But I'm all for bone broth. I'm all for anything that's going to help you feel better and to overcome some of these obstacles that you faced on your healing journey.
And it seems really complicated, some of the things you're talking about. Some folks are like, ew, I can't imagine going vegan or raw, but you did it. And
I
I'm sure
did
that
it.
you have a lot of advice for people who want to sort of get started, right? You probably don't jump in all at one time, sort of gradually start adopting these
Yes.
changes.
Yeah, you just started gradually. Again, as I want to repeat this, know thyself. You have to find out what works for you. Do not ever try to follow the plan of somebody else, because these diseases present each one of us differently. You can find someone else who have Hashimoto's and they're fine. They're like, I have no problem eating gluten. It doesn't bother me. Oh, well, that's great. Well, I do. So find out what works for you. I cannot state that enough. Learn who you are, study you, and then do likewise. Don't do so much as taking away foods, because people get real crazy about their food choices. So don't start taking away stuff. What you do is start adding. Add more fresh juices, add more fresh salads, things of that nature. And then as you started adding things, then you can start taking away. One of the greatest things I've done is whatever food I liked in the past, I make it. I just use different measures.
That's fantastic. All right, we're going to take one final break and be right back with Dawn Green talking about autoimmune disease awareness. Stay with us.
Stay connected with CBN News all day across our platforms.
Welcome back, and we are talking with Dawn Green, author of the book Facing My Giants. And before the break, Dawn, you were talking about eating healthy, and and I know this from my own experience, when you start incorporating all those healthy foods like a salad and things into your life, you find you don't really want the cheat foods. And so that's a great way to think about not depriving yourself, and you just automatically won't want them anymore. Unfortunately, we are almost out of time. We've really only barely scratched the surface of this big issue. But once again, I wanted to say thank you for the hope that you give people who have unexplained symptoms, that they can go to your website and read your book, and you can help them. Can you talk about your website one more time and give it again?
Yes, my website is www.greenlivinginc.com. And there you will hear my story. You can get it to read the first chapter of my book. And also I will show you different modalities that I use. We didn't get a chance to talk about those things, but I have a whole plethora of modalities that I use to help me on this journey.
Well, thank you once again for being with us today and for your amazing work and the way you're glorifying God by helping other people who are going through what you went through for so many years. Dawn Green, appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Lori. I appreciate you also.
And thanks to you viewers for tuning into this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson, and we'll see you again next week.